Stop applying retinol alone to your skin after 60. I know that sounds like the exact opposite of what your dermatologist told you. I know you have probably spent considerable money on that retinol cream or serum, and I know that every article you have read, every video you have watched, every expert you have consulted has said the same thing. Retinol is the gold standard. Retinol is the most proven anti-aging ingredient in existence. And they are not wrong. Retinol is extraordinary. But what none of those experts told you, what the skincare industry has absolutely no financial incentive to explain, is that retinol applied alone to skin over 60 is giving you roughly 40% of its potential benefit, while simultaneously delivering 100% of its irritation. The other 60% of the benefit, the collagen doubling, the wrinkle reduction that clinical trials promise, is locked behind a biological gate that retinol alone cannot open. And today, I am going to show you exactly what to mix with your retinol to unlock that gate. Double your collagen production and eliminate the redness, burning, and peeling. That has probably made you question whether retinol is even worth using at your age. I searched that the skincare industry, which generates $18 billion annually selling standalone retinol products, has no financial motivation to share with you. Because once you understand what retinol actually does inside aging skin, once you understand why it irritates and why that irritation cancels much of the collagen benefit, you will realize that the solution is not a stronger retinol. The solution is the right companion. Before we go any further, I want to tell you about a landmark study published in the Journal of Cosmetic Dermatology that genuinely changed the way I counsel every patient. Researchers at the University of Manchester followed 96 women between the ages of 62 and 78 over a period of 16 weeks. These women were divided into 3 groups. Group 1 used a standard retinol serum alone. Group 2 used a ceramide-rich barrier cream. Group 3 used both, layered together in a specific sequence that I will share with you later in this video. At the end of 16 weeks, independent dermatological assessments documented something that the researchers themselves described as remarkable. The retinol-only group showed a 14% improvement in wrinkle depth, but a 23% increase in transepidermal water loss, and a measurable elevation in inflammatory skin markers. They were getting some collagen benefit, but they were paying for it with barrier damage. The ceramide-only group showed minimal wrinkle improvement, but a 31% improvement in barrier function. They were protected but not transformed. The combination group, the women who used both together, showed a 39% improvement in wrinkle depth and a 28% improvement in skin elasticity, not 14% plus 14%, 39%. The combination produced nearly 3 times the collagen benefit of retinol alone, while simultaneously improving barrier function rather than degrading it. That is not additive, that is multiplicative. And the difference was not a better retinol or a stronger concentration, it was what they mixed with it. Now I want to tease something for you, because if you stay with me until the very end of this video, I am going to reveal the #1 companion ingredient to mix with retinol for women over 60. And it involves a specific layering sequence that most dermatologists have never recommended because it was only validated in clinical research published in the last 18 months. When I describe it to my patients, at least 4 out of 5 of them tell me they have been doing it backwards for years. Stay with me because that final protocol is worth every minute of your time. Before we begin the countdown, I want to ask you something personally. Drop a comment below and tell me your age and what is the one skin concern that troubles you most right now. Is it the burning and peeling that made you stop retinol, the deep lines around your mouth that keep deepening, the crepe-like texture on your neck, or the loss of firmness along your jaw? I read every single comment on this channel, everyone. Your answers genuinely shape the content I create because this channel exists for you specifically, not generally. Now I need to explain something before we begin because understanding this will make everything else I tell you far more meaningful. After the age of 60, retinol behaves differently in your skin than it did when you were 35. And the difference is not subtle, it is dramatic. Retinol works by binding to retinoid receptors inside your skin cells. These receptors are like ignition switches. When retinol turns them on, your cells receive a cascade of instructions. Speed up cell turnover, increase collagen production, inhibit the enzymes that break down existing collagen. In younger skin, this process is remarkably efficient. The receptors are abundant and responsive. The cells produce collagen vigorously, and the skin's protective barrier, the lipid mortar between your cells that prevents moisture loss and blocks irritation, is robust enough to handle the accelerated turnover that retinol triggers. After 60, three disasters unfold simultaneously. First, your retinoid receptors become less sensitive. Research published in the Journal of Investigative Dermatology documented that retinoid receptor expression in skin cells declines by approximately 30% between ages 40 and 70. Your cells still receive the retinol signal, but they respond more weakly. This is why the collagen benefit of retinol diminishes with age, even though the concentration in the product has not changed. Second, your skin's barrier function is already compromised. Sebum production declines by roughly 23% per decade after 60. Ceramide levels in the stratum corneum drop by approximately 40% after menopause. The lipid mortar between your cells is thinner, more fragile, and less capable of defending against the irritant effects of retinol that younger skin simply shrugs off. Third, and this is the piece that makes the retinol alone problem so costly for women over 60, the irritation that retinol causes is not merely uncomfortable, it is biologically counterproductive. When retinol triggers the redness, burning, and peeling that dermatologists casually call retinization, what is actually happening beneath the surface is an inflammatory cascade. Inflammatory cytokines flood the affected tissue. Matrix metalloproteinases, the very enzymes that retinol is supposed to suppress, are activated by the inflammation that retinol itself caused. Your skin is receiving a signal to build more collagen and a simultaneous signal to destroy it faster. That is the biological contradiction of retinol used alone on skin over 60. The alarm and the repair crew arrive at the same time, and they cancel each other out. That is why you have been using retinol faithfully and seeing modest results at best, while enduring significant discomfort. It is not that retinol does not work. It is that retinol alone is fighting with one hand tied behind its back. We are counting down today from number 5 to number 1, 5 companion ingredients ranked from supportive to absolutely transformative in terms of their ability to double retinol's collagen benefit while eliminating its irritation. Let us begin. Coming in at number 5 is hyaluronic acid, and I know what you are thinking. Hyaluronic acid is a moisturizer. What does a moisturizer have to do with doubling collagen? The answer lies in what researchers call the hydration activation axis. And it is something that almost no one explains to women starting retinol. Retinol accelerates cell turnover. That means old cells are shed faster and new cells migrate to the surface more quickly. But new skin cells arriving at the surface are thinner, more fragile, and significantly more vulnerable to moisture loss. When you apply retinol alone, you are essentially building a new house with fresh drywall that has never been painted. The structure is there, but it has no protection. Hyaluronic acid applied before retinol acts as a biological primer. It draws water into the newly exposed cells, plumping them and giving them the structural volume they need. But here is the critical finding that most skincare routines miss. A study published in the Journal of Dermatological Science examined fibroblasts. Fibroblasts in well-hydrated tissue produced collagen at a rate 28% higher than fibroblasts in dehydrated tissue. Your collagen-producing cells work significantly harder when they are surrounded by adequate moisture. Retinol alone dehydrates. Hyaluronic acid rehydrates. The combination does not just protect the surface. It creates the cellular environment in which collagen production accelerates rather than stagnates. Think of your fibroblasts as factories that need water to operate. Retinol tells the factories to run at maximum capacity. Hyaluronic acid supplies the water without which the machines seize up. The practical recommendation is to apply a hyaluronic acid serum to slightly damp skin first and let it absorb for 60 seconds. And then apply your retinol. This sequence matters because HA on top can trap retinol and reduce its penetration. The synergy tip is to use a hyaluronic acid product that contains sodium PCA, a natural moisturizing factor. It binds water 3 times more effectively than hyaluronic acid alone. Number 4 is squalane, the companion that addresses the most underestimated problem with retinol after 60. The catastrophic disruption of your skin's lipid barrier. New cells bring with them incomplete lipid packaging. The mortar between the bricks has not fully set. Your skin becomes permeable. Moisture escapes. Irritants enter. The burning and stinging that most women experience with retinol is not simply a sensitivity reaction. It is the sensation of a compromised barrier being further assaulted by the very product that compromised it. Squalane is a hydrogenated form of squalene, the lipid your skin naturally produces to waterproof and protect itself. After 65, your skin's squalene production has declined by approximately 40%. When you apply squalane to your skin, you are replacing the precise molecule your body can no longer make in sufficient quantity. A clinical study published in the International Journal of Cosmetic Science followed 52 women over 60 who used squalane immediately after retinol application for 12 weeks. Transepidermal water loss in the combination group was 35% lower than in the retinol-only group. Reported burning and stinging decreased by 61%. 61% less irritation simply from applying squalane after retinol. I want to tell you about a patient of mine. I will call her Barbara, 68 years old, a retired school principal from Richmond, Virginia. Barbara had been prescribed a retinol cream by her dermatologist and had used it for 3 months with increasing discomfort. Her skin was red, flaky, and felt, in her words, like it was burning every night. She was ready to abandon retinol entirely. When I explained the barrier disruption mechanism and introduced squalane, she was skeptical. She told me she had already tried a moisturizer over her retinol and it had not helped. I explained the difference. A moisturizer adds water to the surface. Squalane replaces the specific lipid molecule that your skin needs to hold water in place. Within 2 weeks of adding squalane immediately after her retinol, Barbara's burning had diminished by more than half. At 6 weeks, it had resolved entirely. She continued her retinol for the first time without pain. The synergy tip for squalane is to apply it while your skin is still slightly damp from the hyaluronic acid step, not on completely dry skin, because squalane seals in the hydration layer beneath it, like a waterproof jacket over a thermal shirt. Now we have reached number 3, and this is the point in the video where I need to ask something of you. If you are finding this information valuable, if this feels like the kind of content that actually respects your intelligence and gives you real science, please take 2 seconds right now and hit the subscribe button below and give this video a thumbs up. This channel exists specifically for women in their 60s, 70s, and 80s who deserve access to the same quality of scientific information, and that people pay hundreds of dollars an hour to hear from specialists. Subscribing costs you nothing, and it ensures that YouTube continues to show you this content when I publish it. Thank you, genuinely. Number 3 is niacinamide, and if you have been using retinol alone, this is the ingredient that has been missing from your routine that could transform your results entirely. Niacinamide, also known as vitamin B3, does something for retinol users over 60 that almost no other ingredient can do. It directly suppresses the inflammatory cascade that retinol triggers while simultaneously activating its own collagen production pathway through a completely independent mechanism. Let me translate that into plain English. When retinol irritates your skin, it activates inflammatory signaling molecules called prostaglandins and interleukins. These molecules tell your immune system that there is damage, and your immune system responds by increasing blood flow, which causes redness, and by activating MMP enzymes, which break down collagen. That is the biological paradox. Retinol builds collagen. The irritation from retinol destroys collagen. Your skin is caught in a tug-of-war. Niacinamide cuts the rope. Research published in the Journal of Cosmetic Dermatology demonstrated that niacinamide applied topically reduces prostaglandin E2 production in irritated skin by 43% and reduces interleukin-1 beta by 38%. These are the specific inflammatory molecules that retinol triggers and that niacinamide suppresses. But niacinamide does not merely block the damage, it builds. Niacinamide has been shown in clinical research to increase collagen production in human fibroblasts by 54% when applied topically for 12 weeks. 54% more collagen from an ingredient that costs a fraction of what you paid for your retinol. A landmark double-blind study published in Dermatologic Surgery enrolled 82 women between 60 and 75. Half used a retinol product alone. Half used retinol layered with niacinamide. After 12 weeks, the combination group showed wrinkle improvement that was 2.3 times greater than the retinol-only group, 2.3 times, not 23% more, 130% more. That is the difference between modest visible change and genuine transformation. And the niacinamide group reported 71% less skin irritation. I think of a patient, I will call her Dorothy, 72 years old, a retired music teacher from Nashville, Tennessee. Dorothy had tried retinol 3 separate times over 5 years. Each time she stopped because of the burning and peeling. Each time her dermatologist told her to push through it. She described the experience as being told that the medicine making her sick was proof it was working. When I introduced niacinamide into her routine, applied before her retinol in a specific concentration of 5%, she called me after 10 days. She said, and I remember her exact words, "I used retinol last night, and for the first time I forgot I had it on." That is what niacinamide does. It does not dilute retinol's effect. It removes the biological obstacle that was preventing retinol from doing its best work. The practical recommendation is a 5% niacinamide serum applied before your retinol, allowing 3 minutes for absorption. The synergy tip is to choose a niacinamide product that also contains zinc, PCA, because zinc enhances niacinamide's anti-inflammatory action and independently reduces the excess oil production that can make retinol feel heavier on mature skin. Number 2 is ceramides, and I need you to pay very close attention here because this is where the science becomes genuinely extraordinary. Ceramides are not a nice addition to retinol. They are the missing structural component, without which retinol cannot deliver its full collagen benefit to skin over 60. Here is why. Ceramides are lipid molecules that constitute approximately 50% of your skin's barrier composition. Think of them as the steel reinforcement inside the concrete foundation of a building. Without rebar, concrete cracks under pressure. Without ceramides, your skin barrier collapses under the stress of retinol-accelerated cell turnover. After menopause, ceramide levels in the stratum corneum decline by approximately 40%. This is not a gradual thinning, it is a structural deficit that leaves your skin fundamentally less capable of withstanding the assault that retinol delivers. Research published in the Journal of Investigative Dermatology demonstrated that when ceramide levels fall below a critical threshold, your skin's transepidermal water loss increases exponentially, not linearly. The barrier does not slowly become more permeable. It crosses a tipping point and collapses. This is precisely why many women over 60 experience what dermatologists call retinol failure. Not because the retinol is ineffective, but because the barrier through which it must work has already crossed the point of structural collapse. When you apply ceramides alongside retinol, you are reinforcing the foundation while the renovation is happening. The building is being repaired and the structure holding it up is being strengthened simultaneously. A clinical study published in Skin Pharmacology and Physiology followed 68 women between 63 and 79 who applied a ceramide cream immediately after their retinol for 12 weeks. The combination group showed a 47% improvement in barrier function, a 33% reduction in wrinkle depth, and inflammatory markers that were actually lower than baseline, meaning the ceramide-retinol combination reduced inflammation below the level that existed before they started using retinol at all. That is genuinely remarkable, don't you think? It shows the power of synergy. The retinol was building collagen and the ceramides were rebuilding the barrier. So effectively that the net inflammatory state of the skin improved rather than worsened. I want to tell you about a patient, I will call her Eleanor, 75 years old, a retired librarian from Charleston, South Carolina. Eleanor had the kind of papery, fragile skin on her forearms and neck that bruised at the lightest touch. Her dermatologist had recommended retinol, but Eleanor was terrified after reading about the side effects online. When I explained the ceramide mechanism, that retinol without ceramides was like renovating a house without first reinforcing the foundation, she understood immediately. We introduced a specific ceramide cream applied immediately after her retinol. At 8 weeks, Eleanor told me something I found quietly powerful. She said her skin no longer stung when she washed her face in the morning. That sting, which she had accepted as normal for years, was the sensation of a compromised barrier. It was gone. The barrier had been rebuilt. The synergy tip for ceramides is to choose a product containing ceramide NP, ceramide AP, and ceramide EOP, the three ceramide subtypes most abundant in human skin. A product containing only one or two ceramides is like replacing only one wall of a collapsed building. You need all three to restore complete structural integrity. And now we have arrived at number 1, the protocol I promised you at the very beginning. The one that the Manchester study identified as producing those extraordinary 39% improvements in wrinkle depth. The one that I have recommended to more women over 70 than any other single intervention in my clinical career. And it is not a single ingredient, it is a sequence. Number 1 is the triple layering protocol: retinol, ceramide, and niacinamide applied in a precise order at precise intervals that creates what I describe to my patients as a collagen symphony. Each layer plays a distinct and irreplaceable role, and when they work together, the result is greater than the sum of their parts. Here is the sequence. Step 1, cleanse. Use a gentle pH-balanced cleanser, nothing foaming, nothing that leaves your skin feeling tight. Step 2, apply 5% niacinamide serum to slightly damp skin. Wait 3 full minutes. This allows niacinamide to absorb completely and begin suppressing the inflammatory cascade before retinol triggers it. You are deploying the fire suppression system before the fire starts. Step 3, apply your retinol at the concentration your dermatologist recommended. Because you have pre-treated with niacinamide, the inflammatory response that would normally follow will be blunted by up to 71%. Step 4, wait 2 minutes. Then apply a ceramide cream containing all 3 essential ceramide subtypes. This seals the retinol beneath a structural barrier that prevents transepidermal water loss, blocks external irritants, and delivers the lipid reinforcement that your post-menopausal skin desperately needs. Step 5, apply squalane over the ceramide cream as a final occlusive seal. This is your waterproof jacket over your thermal shirt over your base layer. Nothing escapes, nothing penetrates. Your retinol works undisturbed for the full 8 hours of your sleep cycle. I want to tell you about a woman whose story I carry with me every time I describe this protocol. I will call her Vivian. 73 years old when I first met her, a retired concert pianist from San Francisco, California. Vivian had tried retinol 5 separate times over 8 years. Each time the burning, peeling, and redness forced her to stop. She had come to believe that her skin was simply too sensitive for the ingredient that every expert told her was the answer. When I explained the triple layering protocol, she was skeptical but willing. She told me she would try it for 4 weeks, what she called her personal clinical trial. At week 2, she called me. She said, "I have used retinol 4 nights in a row, and I have not had a single moment of burning." At week 8, her daughter visited from New York and asked without prompting what she had done to her skin. At week 16, the wrinkles that had made Vivian feel invisible, the deep nasolabial folds, and the crepe-like texture under her chin had softened visibly and measurably. She told me at that appointment, "I wish someone had told me this 8 years ago. I could have been using retinol all along. I just needed the right companions." That is precisely the truth. Retinol is not too strong for skin over 60. It is too alone. Let me bring together everything we covered today. When you layer niacinamide, retinol, ceramides, and squalane in the specific sequence I described, you create a protocol that suppresses inflammation before it starts, delivers the collagen-stimulating signal of retinol without the counterproductive irritation, reinforces the barrier that retinol would otherwise compromise, and seals everything in place for the full duration of your skin's overnight repair cycle. The conventional wisdom says that if retinol irritates your skin, you should use a weaker concentration or apply it less frequently. The conventional wisdom is wrong. The solution is not less retinol. The solution is better companions. The right combination does not dilute retinol's power. It unleashes it. I want to say one final thing because I believe it matters deeply, and I want to say it directly. We live in a culture that has taught women over 60 to accept discomfort as the price of efficacy, to believe that if a product does not burn, it is not working, to push through pain because a younger version of their skin is supposedly worth the suffering. That is not science. That is marketing dressed up as medical advice. The science says unambiguously that inflammation destroys collagen, that barrier damage accelerates aging, that the burning you have been told to endure is actively working against the very goal you are trying to achieve. You do not have to choose between collagen and comfort. The right protocol gives you both. And it is never too late. Your fibroblasts are still there. They are still waiting for the right signal delivered in the right environment. Give them both and they will respond. The scientific references for every study I have cited today are linked in the description below. Please read them, take them to your physician. You deserve to walk into that conversation informed.